Hello, my dear friends. Here we are again talking about this book, A Way to Balance. A Way to Balance. And this is Maurizio Romoli. Maurizio, today we will talk about the last chapter. We got to the last chapter. Words of wisdom that have inspired me. When I decided to write this book, I wanted to show how very similar our philosophies or religions are in certain respect. For example, in many different places on earth, mankind has reached the same conclusions. And in many aspects, we find the same stories, the same wisdom that comes from Christianity, from Buddhism, from Islam, Muslim religion, or Taoist religion, or even the philosophies. Because what is a philosophy if not something like I want to find an answer to existential questions. So who am I? Where do I come from? Where will I be in 100 years? Why there is evil on this planet? Why do we get old? Why do we die? And why do we lose our teeth? And many other things. So we have many questions inside of us, if we want to. Not all the people have this kind of questions, but many people have. And so we tried in our history, when the time was, when the situation was pushing us to do so. When we are starving, for example, we do not ask ourselves many questions. But when we become rich, when we become free from working so many hours, we start wondering, we start asking ourselves, why? Why do I have to do all this? What's the purpose of all this? So, in certain times of history, and in certain places, and inside certain civilizations, we had this kind. We have had this kind of flourishing, blossoming of this. Thoughts, and in some cases these thoughts became a religion. In some cases they just became a philosophy or a movement or a political movement or whatever we want to call it, an ideal in some way. And when I wanted to write this book, I decided that I wanted to put inside the book this view of mine, so that in every people, in every place, and in every time, most of the times, not always, we have reached the same conclusions. And this is very important, because we are tempted all the times to feel divided from, I've always said this, from our parents, from the nature, from the animals, from other people, other ethnic groups, other races. Because you know that territoriality, the square, remember the square, territoriality is one main feature of our being, of our lower being, the energetic body, the lower energetic body, that is the material energetic body, that we share with our brothers, the animals. You can find exactly the same urges in us and in them. Little bit. So, in this case, we can see, we can feel how united we are. Different religions, different peoples, in different times, in different places of earth, have reached the same conclusions. Because one is life, and we are all brothers. We all came from the same matter, the same couple that are our ancestors. So, I decided to divide, to give to every religion and every first, every religion the same space, but then I discovered a very important fact, that we have a certain percentage, I wrote it in the beginning of the book, I remember, that are non-religious people. A certain percentage of our population on this planet right now declare themselves not religious, so they don't fit in a certain religion, Buddhism, Christianity, or Islam. No, Taoist religion. They don't accept this kind of label, let's say so. And so, maybe because they are atheist, they don't believe in God, or maybe because they just believe in another ideal. For example, they believe in communism, or they believe in fascism, or in Nazism, or liberalism. They have another ideal that guides their lives. A different ideal. It's not an ideal based on an idea of God, or an idea of life after death. It doesn't matter. But there is a philosophy, a world, a hidden world that they chose to be guided by this kind of world, of ideal world. And so I divided, I, for example, had 100 lines, sorry, 100 lines to put in the book of words of wisdom. Okay, so I went on internet. I found that 30%, I don't remember the exact numbers, 30% of the population on earth declared themselves Christians. So I chose 30 lines from the Christian tradition. Then 25% declared that they are themselves as Muslims. So I took 25 lines from the Muslim tradition, and so on. But then I have a certain percentage of people who do not declare themselves as religious in some way, and so I took this, let's say 15%, I don't remember the exact number, so I put 15 lines of normal people. Jimi Hendrix, I remember, and Benjamin Franklin, or other people, Socrates, Plato, and so people who are not inside a specific actual religion, current religion. Okay, so you will find in the book, for example, William Shakespeare. You will find people who didn't talk about a specific God or a specific way to reach heaven or life after death or these things. There are many people who feel the the need to express in thoughts, like the sayings that we have in every people. For example, let's see, better safe than sorry. Very beautiful saying. It's a saying that tells us, be prudent. You can trust people, you can trust a certain situation, you can trust your forces, your strength, but be prepared for the bad things that can happen. So hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And this is just an example. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, or let's say other English say. I have in my mind so many from the Italian tradition. The game is not worth the candle. This is a saying that was taken from the Italian one. It's a game that was played in Rome many years ago in Carnival. And but all this wisdom that was passed on in the past by the people to the people, I think it's very important, because it's like a religion that was not managed by someone, was not, there weren't any leaders that say this is the truth, and if you don't receive this, my baptize, you won't get to heaven. On the contrary, I will burn you on a fire, or something like this. It's a natural wisdom that we all have. There's a saying, for example, in Africa, to raise a child, you need a whole village. Beautiful. And every people has its own way of having some sayings, some phrase that it's a guide for their lives. So when something happens, people reminds, you know, the game is not worth a candle, or you know, you do not cut your mother's hair. It's a saying of the redskin. So you see, it's amazing how everyone, every human being, have felt the need to put all these glimpses of wisdom in words. There's a famous master, it's called MAURIZIO. MAURIZIO. And he wrote some very inspiring phrases. But believe me, it's not so difficult. In certain moments, every one of us receives something like an inspiration. I don't know from where. And you something happens in your life, and then you receive this this thought that slowly, if you take your time, if you park your car, pull over, and then try to think about this thought that arrived in your mind, in your heart, and you will feel that this thought takes shape and becomes a nice saying. That's why I have invented this false name, MAURIZIO. Because I've received many of these phrases, and I wanted to put these phrases in words, written words, so that maybe they can help also other people. They surely helped me, and maybe they were given to me because I had to pass on them to other people. But I don't know. Let's see. Pass them on to other people. You will forgive my very bad English. But let's go in the chapter. The first, what I want to talk about in this video, what I wanted to talk about in this video, was the fact that we can develop a special superpower. Where? in which case we can use this superpower, where at a certain point of our development, and with this book, I think you can increase your speed in this natural and I would say mandatory course of evolution. At a certain point, we develop a superpower, like Spider-Man and Captain America, and we have this superpower that we can sense when someone is telling the truth or not. And you can also sense if the truth is been, if there is a good fate on the other side, or there is bad fate, or there is malevolence in telling that lie. Because many times we say lies because we don't know. We simply don't know. We just are ignorant. We believe with all our strength, with all our forces, with all our mind, we believe with all our heart, we believe in a lie. And that's the fact. So, at a certain point, we develop this power, this superpower. And it's very important because now we have seen, it's clear that our government, we have fought so much to have a republic. The Romans invented it 509 years before Christ. We invented the republic because we didn't want to live anymore with the tyrant. We wanted to be free. Freedom was the main fact. And we have discovered that when you give all the power to one man, a king, before that the Romans had 7 kings, but they were all, apart from the first one who founded the city, they were all elected by the people. But that was not enough, because at the end, the last king was not elected. He was the son of a previous king, and he became a tyrant. And so the Romans weren't happy about this, and they changed everything. They said it's not enough that the leader is elected by the people. There must be more than one leader. We have to divide powers, and we have to elect all them. And in this way, there's a certain kind of balance. You have a Senate, you have the consuls, you have different ways to control the situation so that who is in charge doesn't become a tyrant. So, for example, the highest career in the Roman Republic was the consul. But the consul was in charge for a very short time, 1 year, if I remember. And there were 2 consuls. They were leading the government, and all they could choose to lead the country together or 1 month each. So you see, there's a way to control inside the government. So this is all these tricks. And then there were the tribuni della plebe, the plebs tribunes, I think, something like that. And then there were the censor, the praetor. The power was divided into many different charges, many different offices. So where you can, from there, you can decide a certain part of the people's life. Okay, so we have done all this, and it was the first time before the Greeks, a few years, just 10 years before the Greeks did that. And it was very important because in this way, we made the foundation of freedom, of real freedom in an organized society, because you could be free. We went, even in the past, you went on a desert island, you were free there to do whatever you want. I'm talking about a society of people living together and trying to get along. And this way, we became the most powerful, the most advanced civilization at that time, probably. But what happened? It became an empire. After 500 years, the dream was gone. And we are back from the beginning to the beginning. We are back to the beginning, and we start again with the tyrant, with the pharaoh, with the emperor, or whatever. So, why is this happening? Why happens in many, many places? In Greece, happened the same thing, whatever. So, there is a fight between two tendencies. One is the tendency to be free. And for this, we have understood that we cannot give all the power in a complex society like ours. We cannot give all the power to one man, because he becomes a tyrant. So we have to divide the powers, and then we have to elect them. And then we have to change them after 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, the president in the United States. And you can't have more than 2 mandates. Why? Because he becomes a tyrant. It's always the same problem. But there's a trick, because I want to become a tyrant. Okay, in the past, I used my weapons, I used money, I used whatever I had to acquire a private army, and with that army, I took the power and I became a tyrant. That was something very common in the past. And there are tales in the Roman world, in the Greece world, in Syracuse, and many other places. So, in the past, that's what we used to do. But then, when you have a system based on consensus, on republic, on elections, there is another way to rule. You have to convince people. So you have to manipulate people's mind with what? With communication. So it's very easy. So what happens? What is the problem here? That we have certainty in our mind. I vote for a certain president, for a certain party, because I want to be ruled in a certain way. So I don't like the opponent. I like this president, because I'm talking for the American system, when you have a certain kind of presidential republic. So I vote for President X because I don't like President Epsilon or Z or whatever. So I vote this candidate because I want to be ruled in the same way as he promised that he will rule the country. Perfect. What's the problem? And when he gets the office, when he is in the office and he starts to rule the country, there are other powers that comes in. And in many ways, they manipulate the mind of the president, the mind of his entourage, the mind of the people who voted. And in many ways, for example, if they are less evolved, let's think, for example, the mob or criminal associations, criminal organizations, what do? They go to a certain political figure, and then political an important, like a president or a minister or a senator, it depends, and they corrupt him. They say, I will give you $1 million if you allow this law to be accepted, to go on in its route to become a law, completely and observed. So I want to build a certain kind of hotel or something in a place there is a natural reserve. I pay someone, and then the natural reserve becomes a golf country club. Okay? And I earn a lot of money. If I don't do that with the money, I threat them. I tell them, okay, if I will give you $1 million if you will allow me to do what I want to do on that piece of land. Don't do that, I will kill your son. I will brutalize your wife. Doesn't matter. So, believe me. Do as I say. Take the $1 million and allow me to do what I want to do. So, this is the very low level, but there are higher levels, more sophisticated, to manipulate the minds. I buy and control the media, televisions, the internet. Can be bought that too, believe me, and the social media, and the newspapers, and what I do not obtain in that way, that is the lowest way. If I'm a criminal organization, probably I will use that system because it's more like me, more similar to what I am. And I'm used to do this kind of things, of threatening people and assaulting people, and But if I am more evolved, I do not use those kind of means. I just persuade people to think what I think they have to think. Because that's my I have this possibility. That's my power. I can do that. People are gullible. They believe what there was one of the famous phrases, if you say it from the Nazi power, the Nazi government, I think it was the propaganda minister, he said, if a lie is told many times, becomes a truth. You see? Very simple. And we are talking about a party that became so powerful that manipulated the mind of 100 Germans. Not talking about, very simple things. It's not so easy, but it was done. It was done. So we must take care. We must think well, be calm, and develop the superpower. If we have the superpower, all this becomes very easy. It's like a little game of a child. Like when your son, 5 years old, 6 years old, tries to trick you in some ways. And you are much older than him, so you know all the tricks because you did those tricks in the past. So you discover them in a blink of an eye, and you smile. In this case, we are talking about, for example, pushing a country to make a war. I'm a weapon merchant, so I can make a plan. If my country goes to war with, another country, I will sell so many weapons that I will gain $10 billion. Okay, let's say a number. I can spend $1 or $2 billion to create the war. There is no war. Maybe there is some sort of discord between these two people. Let's say, for example, the Muslim people and the Christians, or the Buddhists and the Christians, or it doesn't matter. We have plenty of examples on this planet. There's a discord. We could talk. We could talk the problem through and find the solutions and become united. But they don't want us to be united because divide et impera. We invented everything. Divide et impera. They are copying us. Divide and rule. Very simple. But if we understand this trick, they use, when I say they, I mean all these different levels of powers, of hidden powers, okay? Like shadow government, like someone who is moving underneath the table. You don't see it, but there's a magnet here. I move it, and the iron moves on the table. So, ooh, oh, that's magic. No, that's the hidden magnet. Very simple. So, in this way, I think we have a hidden power, not one hidden power, many hidden powers. We have criminal organizations, we have companies, lobbies. They have strong interests, and for that, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are inclined to sacrifice 10,000 people, 100,000 people. It doesn't matter. If I create this war, there is a certain kind of discord. They hate each other a little bit already. That's the right place. If I pay someone who goes there and excite the hate, and on the other side, I do the same. I buy the ticket. Here, I have to use religion. Here, I have to use newspapers and televisions and social media. It doesn't matter. I create hate. What I want is hate, because they have to hate each other. When there's hatred, there is a fertile soil for my seeds. My seeds are weapons. You have to kill yourselves. You have to destroy buildings. You have to slaughter, rape. You have to do all these things, because in this way, I am happy. Because I sell weapons. I have interest. And there is someone else who says, I don't care for selling weapons. There's another power who says, I just want them to be divided. Doesn't care. I don't care for the money. I want them to be divided, because if they are not divided, they become powerful. And I'm afraid of this, because mankind have a strong urge to curiosity, for evolution. So in a few years, they will become like, Jesus Christ or something. How can I control someone like Jesus Christ? How can I do that? It's impossible. You see, that's the fact. So we have to develop this power to choose. When someone tells a story, we have to have this kind of power. And we can do that because it's inside here. We are made from this planet, and this planet gives us the power. It's not a technology. It's an inner power to feel what is right and what is not right. We can make a mistake, so we always have to be prudent in our judgment. But it's like another sense. You can sense it. And we don't have to trust senses 100%. We know many times that eyes can deceive, ears can deceive. Every sense can be a sort of mistake, a form, or something that can lead you to a mistake, but most of the times they're right. So if I have optical illusion, probably I will see a triangle where there is a square or something like that. But this happens very, very few times. Most of the times my eyes see the proper shape, and the shape is that. So we have to learn to be prudent, but to trust. On the other hand, we have to trust our judgment and purifying our soul, doing the exercise that are explained in the book. We start to develop this power faster, but we develop it anyway. That's why these powers want to stop us. Because if they don't stop us, we will develop this power. When we have reached a certain level, no one can stop us. So, why did I put in the first place in this chapter 31, the tale that Jesus Christ told to the people of the son that asked the father to have half of his wealth, and then he left the father, and then he went in a foreign country, far from there, from his home, and there he squandered all the money he had in a bad life with feasts and prostitutes and drugs and alcohol, whatever you want to call it. Having fun. Okay, we call it fun. But the fun, didn't last much, didn't last very long. At a certain point, a great famine swept over the country, and then the boy began to starve. All his friends gone. All the feasts, the parties, gone. All the drugs, the alcohol, everything was gone. And he didn't have enough to eat, so he was starving. And he was so hungry that he had to ask for a job, and no one wanted to give him a job. So in the end, he was the son of the father, was very rich, like a prince. But now he's asking for a very humble work to feed his body. And at the end, he found someone who who gave him the job to, control a group of pigs. And he saw the pigs eating acorns, and he said, "Oh my God, I'm so hungry. I would eat all those acorns. How did I get here?" And what happened? Finally, the boy came to his senses, and he said, "What am I doing here? The last servant in my father's house has all he needs. All he needs. And here, I'm starving to death. That's what I will do. I will go back to my father's house. I will tell him that I have sinned against heaven, against him, and I am not worth to be called his son anymore. But please treat me as the last of your servants." You see, it's not love that is pushing him, but it's need. The need to eat. That's us. That's us. And he set off to come back. When he was still a certain distance from home, when his father saw him coming, because he was waiting for him. And then the boy came to the father and said, "Father, I have sinned against heaven, against you. I don't want to be treated as your son anymore, but treat me as the last of the servants." But the father hugged him and kissed him and said, "Bring food and wash him and dress him, because my son was lost and he's found. He was dead and he's alive." You see the difference? No? And what happens? There is another tale, another novel that Jesus Christ told to the people according to the Gospels. That is the tale of Lazarus and the rich. We say in Italian epulone. In English, I say probably something like epulon or epulon, something like that. And in that case, there is this rich guy called Epulon, and he's just rich. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's just rich. And then there's this poor guy. His name is Lazarus. That is also affected by leprosy. He has this terrible disease, leper. And I don't know if the word is correct, but he stays there, and outside the rich man, the Epulon's house, and very, very poor, and with this terrible disease. And this is against the law in Israel also, because he couldn't be there. He had to be taken out of the city. But, and this is something that is, suspect. You never find a leprosy inside the village in Israel, because there was the ancient law from the Torah said that when you have that kind of of disease, you have to be taken outside in another place. You couldn't, because you could be contagious. Wise law. And in this way, they die. They both died, the poor and the rich. And the rich goes to hell, burning with flames, and the poor goes to heaven. And the rich is so burnt with fire, and he's thirsty that he asks Lazarus. He see him from far below with Father Abram, and he said, Father Abram, please send Eplon to dip his finger in the water and give me just one drop of water because I'm burning here, and please. And Abram says, no, he can do that. You had your share of good in life, now you have all your share of bad. And he, on the contrary, had his share of bad in life, and now he has his share of good. Okay? And furthermore, between us and you, there is an uncrossable barrier. Okay, let's say so. An abyss. Okay. And the rich is not, please, I have brothers, and they have a sort of life like mine, and so they will end up here. Please send Lazarus to advise them, to suggest them to change their lives. We don't understand in which way, what was their guilt is not explained, but okay. And Abraham always answers, no. They have the prophets. They should listen to them. Okay. But you see, the rich is trying to amend his sins. We don't know which kind of sins because it's not said. And he says, but if my brothers, so he's making an act of love, of compassion to his brothers. But this is not the case. It's not important. You have to burn in hell. And he asks, please send Lazarus, because Lazarus, if they will see someone raise him from the dead, they will believe. Believe in the prophets, ancient prophets 500 years ago. It's different. When I see someone raising from the dead, and Abraham says the third no. If they didn't believe the prophets, they will not believe. They wouldn't believe not even if someone comes from the dead. And so this is the end of the tale. When my daughter was probably 7 years old, I told them the two tales. And she told me, Dad, they are not written by the same person. Why you say so? I asked her. And she told me, because in one case we make a mistake and we are forgiven, and they are given the chance to repair, to fix the situation, to atone. On the other hand, on the other tale, there is no salvation, there is no possibility to change, there is also the punishment comes without a certain reason, just like that. We are punished like that because you have had your share of good. What do you mean? I don't understand. So I think there are two different stories. In one case, you feel that you always have the possibility to change the situation, change yourself, fix the damage that you've done. On the other hand, you don't have this kind of possibility. And so I think that they weren't told by some person. You see the superpower? So from this case, we have to think well when we put our faith in something. Because we know that religions, that philosophies, that political movements are manipulated and used by people. And people are bad. Men are bad. Women are bad. They have evil inside of them. And this evil, it's a childish evil, nothing so extraordinary. It's just the square. It's just something that they want to dominate. They want to be a tyrant. That's why I talked about tyranny. Because if we have freedom, if we want freedom, we have to respect the other people. We don't want to control the other people. We want to leave everyone free. Let everyone free to live the way they've chosen to live, and they choose to live. So, you see, there are two worlds. In one world, you make an evolution, you become stronger and wiser and healthier and happier and more long-lived every day. And this evolution never ends until we get to perfection. Let's say Jesus Christ or someone like him. Choose whoever you want. I don't care. The main fact, let's imagine a perfect man. So someone who is master of everything. Master of his body, master of the elements. I say stop to the wind stops. You see, in this case, I am like God, like what we think God is. So power, we have real power. And the first power is on our body. So we don't get sick, we don't get old. We have every power in this body. This is maybe a fairy tale, but I think I like to believe it. So we have a world that is made by freedom and evolution and respect for every being on this planet. The most you can. On the other hand, we have control. We have tyranny. We have, sacred scriptures and newspapers and televisions and social media, whatever you want, or philosophies, or it doesn't matter. You have all the means that you use, or corruption, or threatening. You want to control the other people and make them do what you want them to. So, you see, two different words. We have to understand that when someone is in this world, is not in this world. So, if someone is in this world, they will try to control us in every way they can. And they will use every mean they have to control us. So, someone can say, in this way, I close every book, I don't believe in anything else, and I don't believe in the Gospels, I don't believe in the Bible, in the Talmud, or in the Srimad Bhagavatam, or in the aphorism of Patanjali, or Bhagavad Gita. We can do or in the Quran, but there is another way. We can be like gold searcher. So, we use, those, I don't know the word in English, when you go, and we pass all the sand until we find some pieces of, like a filter, okay? We have this kind of filter, and we move the sand like this, with the water, with flowing water, and then we find, after a certain time of work, little pieces of gold. And this is exactly what we can do, especially when we have the superpower, the filter. With the filter, we can do it. We can pass the things and see if something is gold or is just sand. There's nothing wrong with sand, but gold is gold. So we have to understand that in every scripture, in every movement, in every wise or philosophy or ideal. They are made by man. They are taken ahead by man, so there is the possibility of mistake, of evil. So we have to be careful and prudent. Respect everyone, but use the superpower to feel if I sense something wrong. For the moment, I wait. I do not choose. There is another saying, very, very famous, in Italy at least. Nel dubbio astieniti. It means, when in doubt, don't do. Wait. And that's what we should do, and that's why I think we shouldn't dismiss all the sacred scriptures or the philosophies or the movement just because maybe there is some mistakes. But we should. There are lots of precious stones inside the Bible, inside the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are lots of precious stones in I Ching So Wen, and in the sacred scriptures of Taoism. But we have to think well. What is right? Lao Tse said many things, and many things have become very famous. Tao Te Ching. But to understand the meaning, you have to use the superpower. Many times you will read something that has no special meaning. But if you think well and you try to use the superpower, you understand what he wanted to say. And that's why you can start to write your own Tao Te Ching. As I did with the, I don't know how to call it, the words of MAURIZio. Because we are all in the same position. All these great masters of the past didn't came here to show us how beautiful and wise and strong and powerful they were, while we are just poor beings. They wanted to, they were teachers trying to make us evolve in something very similar to them, and even better than them, even better. So, with this hope, I salute you, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. And believe in your powers, superpowers. Not 100%, but believe in them.